on the Fringe with Dan radio style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. I wanted to use this picture in such a more inappropriate way. Money shot was coming into my head, but then I looked when I had it because a friend gave me this. It was awesome. Nana, thank you. But she's showing her teeth. I mean, like, what? How can I even go there now? It like ruined it. So whatever. Went with a different thumbnail. She's a lying sack of poo. Didn't get called out, but everybody's nailing it and destroying these people for their lies. I was thinking before I even started researching shows today or news today, I was like, oh, this is going to be like, they like Trump set her up. She made all these accusations, these lies. I mean, the Agenda 25, first off, it's in her webpage all over the place. We'll kind of show that. But just constantly saying things that Trump's like, I'm not a part of this. I have nothing to do with this. And they keep saying it's true. Like, that's like weird. You're creating a false narrative that's definitely not true about your opponent. So Trump kind of messed with that a little bit. Again, we've got a lot of stuff with the debate. I was live with it last night. So yay, I get to watch it again for the most part. And some of you will as well. But we've got a lot of very, very good stuff put together. And let's get into it. So right off the bat, this I want to start with because it's just so insane. Apparently, Joe Biden was wearing a Trump hat. Yeah, I know, you don't believe it, do you? No, of course you don't. Of course you don't. But you're gonna. Here it comes. Yeah, exactly. So let's just take it to the next logical step. There's literally a decent photo of him wearing a Trump hat. Now, was he doing that on purpose? Was that an accident? Did he think it was funny and wasn't going to get photographed? Because maybe he's that office rocker. Oh, the deep state hates that kind of stuff. So I wanted to kind of bring up a couple definitions real quick before we get into, I wanted to bring up one definition, and I'm going to share three because I just thought it was funny. So definition, I typed it because I wanted to find a dictionary, and I figured for some reason that was a good word to search. Anyway, so it gave me the definition of definition. That made me chuckle. I went, that's funny. So a statement of meaning, a word, phrase, or term as a dictionary entry. And I was like, dictionary is what I wanted. And then I saw Merriam Dictionary. I'm like, well, everything got solved, but I found the definition of definition, which I thought was kind of funny. Then it reminded me of the joke. Where do you look up a word for thesaurus? How do you find another word for thesaurus? That's kind of a funny joke. Something like that. I might have jerked it a little bit, but whatever. So I'm like, all right, well, this Merriam Dictionary, I had a dictionary term coming up, but it has a thesaurus. I'm like, well, let's look up thesaurus. Well, shit, it gave us some stuff. Lexicon, word book, glossary, nomenclator, vocabulary, gloss. I was like, okay. Well, so much for that joke. Needless to say, I thought this was the important one. Less of a time fill. So, really? This is not what I wanted. I wanted democracy on this one. I obviously closed the wrong thing, but democracy. It's a government by the people, especially rule of majority. Democracy. Rule of the majority. Democracy. Rule of the majority. We live in a constitutional republic. One, there's a constitution that gives us rights. It's a republic because it requires a great deal of people to vote, to turn or change or amend that constitution. Democracies require just barely over 50%, or in some cases, not even that, but just the largest majority, and you can actually steamroll everybody else and take on extra people. So the rule of the majority is a very important thing because we keep hearing everybody talk about what was the worst day in this history, or our country's history, for democracy. A lot of people freak out. Here's a perfect example. Libs of TikTok posted this. I'm not giving I'm not giving crap to anybody. I'm just trying to help people, I think, understand the bigger picture. Yesterday, Kamala said the photo on the left is a bigger attack on our democracy than the photo on the right. From their understanding of what democracy means. I mean, they're not libs of TikTok, but the bad people, they're right. And many of you, if you can't see that, I'm going to give you a second. And for those of you that don't see it, I'll tell you. Why do they think January 6th was the biggest attack on our democracy? Because it was. Because we showed them peacefully, we showed them huge numbers. We showed up on their doorstep peacefully and patriotically. We freaked them out because we are the majority, not them. So when many ask, why wasn't 9/11 the biggest attack on democracy? Because it wasn't. 9/11, they took away all of our freedoms. You remember Patriot Act? You guys familiar with that one? That's why they got to grope you in the growing every time you friggin' go to the airport? Yeah. 9/11. Now, again, worst horrible day, and I want to get into that, and that's important. And I do very much never forget. Kash Patel says it beautifully. I 100% agree. I was awake at the time. I knew very well that this was an inside thing. Well, I didn't know all the stuff. As it played out, we figured it out, kind of like we do everything nowadays. But we know that there was an inside job. And an inside job was allowed to cause an attack and kill Americans in a horrific way. And there was people that profited off it. There was all sorts of crazy shenanigans that happened around it, but literally attacked our own people. We lost, 3,000 plus people. Horrific day. We literally were attacked by whoever the hell they made it up to be. I think they had to have been remote control. I just don't believe there's any way that the actual idiot that barely knows how to fly a Cessna could have done what they did. It's just absolute impossible. No, it could not have hit a building, especially square on like they did. Hell no. It would be very, very hard to do without help. So we'll never forget. And my heart goes out to everybody that has lost loved ones. I'm not trying to diminish the fact that something horrific happened in an attack on our country and then caused us to lose all of our rights. Yeah, it was a horrific day. We lost far more than just 3,000 people. We lost the rights. We lost our freedoms. So many of them, all wrapped up in this thing they called the Patriot Act, which everybody voted for, because why wouldn't you be a patriot? And look where we are today. MAGA. Patriots. It's funny how things are changing. Rep. Jim Jordan, never forget the nearly 3,000 Americans who lost their lives on September 11th, 2001. God bless all the brave firefighters, police, first responders, service members, and veterans. Pray for them and their families today, unquestionably. My heart goes out to all you guys. Horrific day. Here is Trump and J.D. Vance paying their respects to the fallen. So yes, I am not going to spend a ridiculous amount of time on 9/11. There's so many stories that popped up today, but we've got a lot to cover, obviously, in that regard. Here's Trump and Kamala Harris. I guess they shook hands at some 9/11 remembrance ceremony. Good on Kamala for showing up where Trump was at. That's impressive. Biden wouldn't have. Trump is such a much more classy person than most of these guys. I just wanted to throw this out. This is really, sad and kind of I think, a big event in the big picture. U.S. Congressman Joe Wilson, he's a Republican from South Carolina, has reportedly been rushed to the hospital after collapsing at an event. I don't know a lot more. I haven't necessarily gone digging, but something to consider, and, prayers go out Joe Wilson. Hopefully he's a good guy. I don't even know if he's a good guy. Like, I'm not even trying to judge. It seemed like a pretty messed up, unfortunate story. U.S. Congressman makes fresh attack on Breton, warns digital enforcer not to censor Americans. This is pretty sweet. Jim Jordan has thrown some major stuff at the British European Union. Sorry, not Britain. Sorry, Britain. You Brexit, and you want to come back in or whatever, I think, but whatever. A leading U.S. congressman has accused the European Union self-styled digital enforcer, Thierry Breton, of failing to alleviate the concerns held by U.S. lawmakers that the EU, quote, may attempt to censor or suppress lawful speech in the United States, unquote. Last month, Rep. Jim Jordan objected when Breton threatened Elon Musk over an interview on X with President Trump. Now, Jordan, chairman of the powerful House Judiciary Committee, says Breton has sent an inaccurate letter to his committee in an attempt to deny he was threatening to force Musk into censoring content. In correspondence seen exclusively by Brussels Signal, Breton attempts to justify his decision to issue Musk and his X platform with a public warning. Breton insisted Musk must act in line with EU law or face the possibility of sanctions under the Digital Services Act. However, in the letter, Breton insisted this was not designed to push Musk into censorship. Jordan rejected this. In the latest exchange, he wrote back to Breton, quote, "The only logical inference from your actions is that your letter was intended as a threat to Musk, that the EU would, as you warned, quote, make full use of its toolbox, end quote, if he facilitated political speech with which you disagreed." Breton claimed that EU is pro-freedom of speech and that this threat against Musk was merely a reminder to make sure illegal content and so-called disinformation was controlled and culled on the X during the interview with President Trump. "We take no view on the context of the interview, and the political views of the protagonists of the interviews are of no relevance in our decision to send that letter." Now, again, this is focused around the interview with Trump. These guys in Europe have an opinion about what Trump stated on Musk's interview on X. An American on an American company talking to an American person running for president. And Europe feels like they've got some sort of opinion to have. Of course, Jordan feels the same way, but just sort of wanted to paint that a little bit if it wasn't already there. Your response, however, failed to alleviate our concern that you may attempt to censor or suppress lawful speech in the United States using the European Union Digital Services Act. Jordan blasted Breton, claiming that the EU's censorship demands were compatible with freedom of speech, arguing that the Commission's demands that so-called disinformation be controlled violated such values. Quote, "First, your claim that the DSA does not regulate content is contradicted by the text of the DSA and by your own actions," the committee chair wrote. "As demonstrated by your letter, EU officials are not above factual mistakes and misunderstandings. Dissenting voices matter because the expert consensus is often wrong, as shown most recently by the devastating consequences of the government-imposed lockdowns. The DSA, as you admit in your letter, requires very large online platforms, such as X, Facebook, and YouTube, to take mitigation measures against alleged disinformation. The DSA defines disinformation as a type of content that, because of the DSA regulates disinformation, the DSA, contrary to your claims otherwise, regulates content. In fact, in your threat letter to Elon Musk, you made clear that the DSA obligates X to censor allegedly harmful content, i.e., content disfavored by the EU. So Jordan just keeps calling it out. Your assertions would never interfere with the American democratic process is contradicted by your actions. I mean, he really just tears into this dude. I read probably too much of it, but still it's pretty friggin' solid. Now, some concerning stuff, because there is an extreme push by the deep state to aggravate Russia into launching nuclear weapons somewhere, anywhere. Doesn't matter. So long as they launch somewhere and kill people, boom, we're ready, we're good, we're solid. That's what the deep state's trying to do. Kremlin warns that there will be an appropriate response if Ukraine uses Western missiles to strike Russia, as U.S. considers allowing long-range attacks. Now, this was also posted by someone I don't even want to try to say. Russia launched a major counteroffensive in the Kursk region overnight, deblocking overland routes to the Glashkovo area and regaining at least 1/10 or even more of the Ukrainian-occupied part of Russia, as per Ukrainian and Russian sources. So, I don't know, supposedly Ukraine's had a little bit of a pushback. Also finding out on Wednesday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken revealed the new aid package for Ukraine amounting to about $717 million. Interesting numbers. Also, this is just, now they can't send them weapons because we don't actually have any to send. So now what they're doing is they're selling backup generators and stuff that we have here in the United States for, in case we ever had a war and needed backup generators. They're now selling that stuff, or giving that stuff really away, or whatever. We're giving Ukraine all of our stuff. That's it. I mean, this is what's happening. They are literally selling us. They've sold our strategic reserves down. They've sold off all of our extra weapons. They've sold off all of our now extra gear, like extra generations or, power generators and stuff like that for the energy sector, humanitarian aid, stuff that, again, they've got a problem there. I wish the war would stop, but we've got people on the streets dying here. Well, we sure as hell aren't taking care of them, are we? Blinken hints the U.S. will lift the restrictions. Now, I think this is funny. One, The Guardian put it out, so I was like, all right, I wasn't even going to share this, but then I'm like, maybe it's just a good example to share with people how this is ridiculous. But here's what he actually said, because their quote is Blinken hints he'll lift the restrictions on Ukraine using long-range arms, right? Makes you think he said something that would be like, all right, use the long-range stuff. All right, well, here's what he said. David Lammy Blinken said the U.S. had, quote, from day one, been willing to adopt its policy as the situation on the battlefield in Ukraine changed. We will continue to do this, he emphasized. That's it. That's his hint. That sounds like it could mean anything, frankly. And yeah, we've been doing that. For us to use our weapons to so this, well, we'll see. It would definitely cause Russia for sure to escalate. There's unquestionable that would escalate the war. Wouldn't help end it, that's for sure. It'd just get us directly involved. Johnson pulls House vote on the GOP spending over, there's some opposition within the GOP party. So, again, we've got some rhinos that want to vote with Hakeem Jeffries and not to the, the safety, what the hell's that part called? The SAFE Act, I think it was. To make sure our elections are safe. We've got some Republicans that aren't okay with that. So we'll see what Johnson does, but he's pulled it. There is the possibility that we do go into a government shutdown. We certainly will see that as the times move into that direction. And unfortunate, that we're heading this way. But at the same time, we are definitely heading in this way. It's Federal Reserve unveils this toned-down banking regulation. So initially, the capital they were going to have to require, like basically how much money on hand were they going to have to keep for all the stuff that they've got floating around out there, all their different assets, all their loans and everything, right? All the crazy stocks, whatever the hell, all the crap that they've got. They were going to have to keep 19% of cash, liquid, or what do they call it, capital. I guess it could possibly be some other things that you could easily liquidate, whatever. I don't know how it works exactly in banking. I kind of looked it up a little bit. So they need 19% of that capital. And that would have, kind of guaranteed they had some money to back that whatever happens, or keep bank rushes from happening, or keep them from shutting down when these crazy moments happen. Like we've had some banks close down, and probably going to have more if they don't lower interest rates. This is what's killing the banks right now. They're literally just drowning in their own milk and filth. Milk? I don't know. Filth for sure. I don't know what I was trying to say. But anyways, this is not going to be 19% anymore. I think it used to be 9. They're changing it. So it's like 12% or something like that. Have agreed to remit a proposal to modest 9% increase instead of 19. This probably is not good for the big picture, but it shows, in my opinion, how fragile things are right now. How very, very fragile the banking system is, and we are literally that close. And literally, once it happens, once this tips, it's done. So again, anybody that's in the 401k or an IRA, you're in that. That's awesome. That's great. You've probably done okay. Even if it's 5,000, even if it's 20,000, 50,000, whatever it is. First off, partnered up with these great guys, Goldco. They're certainly awesome, and they can help you through this process. They can help you get out of it tax-free, penalty-free, and you go into a precious metals IRA. It's physical gold, put in a trust, but it's physical gold. It's yours. It's got your name on it. And the reason this is such a good idea is because right now, dollar is dying because of inflation. Hard death. We're also having problems with stocks. Now, Trump's got some great ideas to kind of get things going and get things in the right direction, but Trump's quite a ways away from where he can possibly do that, right? So don't know what's going to happen over the next short period of time, but we do see things are not looking good for the overall economy, and we're also seeing the price of gold go up, and price of silver as well go up significantly just since March of this year. Just 6 months ago, it was down around 18 and change. It's now over 25. It's huge jump. Huge jump, especially it fluctuates, and in time, and every time it's ever really fluctuated, especially like it is right now, has been the times of the big collapses. Gold, oddly, a little differently than silver. Silver, every single time there's been some sort of a collapse, like back in the 70s when we had the gas thing and all that. Silver prices spiked hard at that point. Crazy. So it's one of those places where you can make a ton of money. People right now are up 30, 40, 50%, depending when you got into the game. This is a great way to get out of their system, tax-free, penalty-free. They can't spend your money anymore on their stupid projects, and it's now in your hands. Literally, physical precious metals that are killing it right now. And then you can turn around after we hit that high, and if you want to turn around and liquidate back into something else, that'll work for you. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Get out of their system before they get out of you, and they want to. That's for shiz. All right, some of this good stuff. National rent control. But he's just doing the post, kind of reminding what Kamala Harris has been talking about, how this is the way to fix everything. So Elon Musk posted the picture of an empty grocery store with the laughing Kamala. And national rent control will destroy the incentive to build new housing. National food price controls on supermarkets, which only have a few percent margins, means empty shelves, just like Venezuela. This is literally what they want to do. It's what Kamala wants to do. It is her plan to fix the prices. You just cram them and hold them. So yes, nobody's going to buy real estate anymore. They'll say maybe BlackRock, which might very well be what they're trying to do. And people will want to get out of it because they're no longer allowed to charge rents that can actually deal with rising, well, maybe the rising rates. We'll see. If people have variable interest rates at this point of the world, and yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for sure. Here is Trump being fact-checked. I'm bringing it up here for a reason, so we'll get there.
Verify here, you bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
But the people on television saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
So first off, he destroyed the moderator, and the moderator was trying to fact check him and claim that since the city guy said that this isn't true, that then it's therefore not true. Well, that's not.
What in the hell is this? The chairman tweets, protect our ducks and kittens in Ohio because he goes down some crazy rabbit hole, completely debunked that aliens are eating pets? My God. Are you okay, Mr. Chairman? Because last year, for a very long time, you tweeted and promoted Kanye West as he was calling for genocide against the Jews, and you kept it up. And now, when we have victims coming here, you're tweeting this nonsense. I don't know why you would do this. I hope you're okay. I don't know if the aliens who are eating your ducks are in the room with us right now, but Mr. Chairman, this is a serious issue. These people have loved ones who have been lost, and you tweeted this.
I was actually most surprised that Mrs. Swalwell was still in office, but whatever. So he's saying it too. So we got ABC, we got Mrs. Swalwell. All right, good to know. So you guys say this is all a bunch of hooey, huh? Okay.
Clark County Communications.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I got a question. This is a non-emergency line, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm sitting here. I'm riding on the trail going to my orientation for my job today, and I see a group of Haitian people. There was about 4 of them. They all had geese in their hand. They got away. I couldn't make out the first 3 of the license plate, but I got the numbers. The last numbers was 9898, and it was a gray Toyota Tacoma they took off on. There was about 4 of them. There was 2 men, 2 women.
All right, so that's one of them. I don't have to play that whole thing. Here's another of them.
Well, I am a resident of Springfield, Ohio, and it is not fake news. There is an issue with them because we have in our local park, they literally have ducks down there that the park takes care of, and it's where they live, and they are being killed and eaten, and As far as people's personal pets, I've heard stories, but I can't answer to that personally because I don't know. But I can tell you, because this is the car channel, I do car content. I can approach this story from the
Right, we don't need to go down the whole entire path as well. But again, one more example. I think I got one more still.
That's what they're used to, bro. They're in the park grabbing up ducks by their neck and cutting their head off and walking off with them and eating them. Like, y'all get the Highway State Patrol down here.
So here's the thing. I don't know for sure if or if not this is or isn't happening, but just having some city manager say it's not when we've gotten multiple people that have witnessed it or witnessed some interesting shenanigans versus some place that's not seen it and just decided to say it's not true because they don't want it to be true. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. The governor of Ohio is going to send law enforcement and millions of dollars in healthcare resources to the city of Springfield as it faces a surge of temporary Haitian migrants that has landed it in the national spotlight. So they're now getting a bunch of cash over there. This temporary protected status program under which some 15,000 Haitians have arrived in the city of about 59,000 people. Again, keep those numbers in mind. That instantly creates a large army inside a small city. We've seen buildings taken over. This is how you take over a city. It's happened in Minnesota already. This is how you take over a city. The government's literally facilitating in this process. They're bringing these people in large numbers into small areas rather than spreading them around. Nope. We're going to create a really abnormal situation by shoving a bunch of people in one small area of a bunch of people that aren't really used to having people like that right in that small area. Call it a social experiment, sure. And then we're going to throw a few $1 million at it and see what sort of fun we have. Christopher F. Rufo put this out. Said Button's Lives, I guess this guy at Button's Lives, and I have discovered that the Biden-Harris administration subsidizes the Venezuelan migrants who took over the apartments in Aurora, Colorado, through a funnel of government agencies and left-wing NGOs. It's time to follow the money. So the story begins in 2021 when the Biden-Harris administration signed the American Rescue Plan Act into law. This allocated $3.8 billion to Colorado. The city of Denver drew on this reservoir of funds to launch its migrant resettlement and housing program. The city in turn funneled more than $5 million to the left-wing NGOs Vive Wellness and Papa Gallo to secure housing for thousands of Venezuelan migrants. These organizations are run by Yoli Casas and Marielena Suarez, two Venezuelan immigrants who do not appear to have any background in any of that management or bringing immigrants in or anything like that. Just two people that were probably close to somebody. Yoli Casas, who runs Viva Wellness, said that the flow of government funds was so abundant she was writing thousands of checks to pay for migrants. She claimed to have written $350,000 in checks in a single week, all heavily subsidized by taxpayers. These NGOs, in turn, worked with landlords to place these migrants in housing, including a large number of contracts with CBZ Management, which operated the 3 apartment complexes in Aurora at the center of the Venezuelan takeover scandal. We spoke with former CBC employee who, on a condition of anonymity, explained how the scheme worked. Representatives from Papa Gallo arranged hundreds of contracts with CBZ to place migrants in the Aurora apartments. Soon, they were up to 80% full of Venezuelans. The result was chaos. We have obtained a confidential report which alleges, according to a witness interviews, that the apartment saw a string of crimes, including trespassing, assault, extortion, drug use, illegal firearm possession, and human trafficking, as well as sexual abuse. So this was helped and done by the Biden administration through the Democrat organizations in Colorado that have created this problem. What do you think Ohio man with his $3.5 million is doing in Ohio? Follow the money, folks. Find out which company it is that's doing the building, that owns the buildings that the Haitians are going to live in. Follow them, because that's where your gold mine is. That's where the problem is. This is what's happening right in front of our faces right now. Here's former Clinton advisor saying he's not voting for Kamala.
Will you vote for Kamala?
At this point, I cannot. I would call myself undecided at this point, but I can't vote for her for reasons related to her change in position and also the Middle East, as we have talked about before. I do not believe she is sufficiently committed to Israel and fighting anti-Semitism.
And also because her neck looks weird. I'm going to say it. Her neck looked weird. A lot of people are calling it out. I'm not the only one. Don't act like I'm being weird. Her neck looked weird. Oh, yeah. Just to remind you guys, ABC was the network that kept the information around Jeffrey Epstein quiet. Remember this?
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, it was what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago. We knew. We had the info. We weren't allowed to share it. Period. End of story, right? So, yeah, here we go. A lot of debate stuff. Let's see if we can make this. Okay, right off the bat, I want to talk about some very, 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 very interesting things. Cool little real earrings / also earbuds. They're Novas audio earrings. They're made with real pearls and have built-in speakers that transmit audio up into your ear. They exist. The technology's out there. Oddly, she was wearing something that looks almost identical to these audio earrings. So largely why she probably did significantly well. Might also explain why she had some of the people working with her. To me, right now, that kind of makes sense. She just needed to be able to protect herself, and I think what they taught her was how to do the body language stuff. That's all she, and occasionally she'd interrupt, but she's like, she just do stupid stuff. Or I don't know, it'd be better to look that way if I'm doing it, but whatever, right? So this could have been used, probably was used. I mean, it'd be stupid if it wasn't. It does remind all of us of post 4657 debates. 1, Biden camp will find excuse reason to terminate. Debates. 2, Biden camp will be provided the questions ahead of time. And 3, Biden camp will be provided the questions ahead of time and assistance in the form of special communication device. Like what we saw. Just saying. Now, here is a post that Hillary Clinton was being a little bit of a biatch, and she said, not familiar with Viktor Orban, the democracy-killing Hungarian dictator whose approval Trump touted on the debate stage last night. And then I guess she went into some explanation as to why we shouldn't like Viktor Orban or think anything good of him. Well, Balázs Orban, I'm guessing a relation to him, maybe? Don't know. But he said, Dear Mrs. Clinton, may I share with you what I think the death of democracy is? The desire to imprison your political opponents, the failure to organize elections transparently, and the attempt to replace dissatisfied voters with migrant voters. Which country do you think this applies to? Every reasonable person thinks of this when reading your remarks. First, take a log out of your own eye. Brilliant. Well done. And I'm proud that you're attacking Hillary Clinton. I don't care if she's American. She's a horrible person, so good on her. Eddie Scary put this out. ABC moderator just asserted her opinion that there is no state where it's legal to kill a baby. False. Election interference. He's right, too, by the way. Now, what is funny, and I think I'll play we'll get to it. I'm pretty sure I've got more stuff in that regard. I feel like I want to say it now, but we'll see.
They got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts. I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
because
veto?
Under Roe v. Wade,
answer the question. Would you veto?
You could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
Now, just to remind everybody, and this is where I should say it, and sometimes forget where my parts are. But yes, the governor of Virginia said, and what this is about, and this is the facts of it. I could have pulled the story up, but I didn't. It's already too much shit as it is. If an abortion is performed, and then they pull out the fetus, and it's still alive, what do you do? And that is what the law is about. And the Virginia governor's law that he was trying to push or signed in basically said you could kind of put it aside for a moment while you pondered what you wanted to do. Do we want to keep it alive now, or do I want to smash it with a hammer at this point? How do I? And so that is what Trump is talking about. Because the option to kill it after it's out of the body and alive is unquestionably death, by the way. Whether you want the child or not, if it's a living human being outside of the womb, it's no longer, this abortable fetus. It's now a person. So again, this is another one of those places where Kamala gets to get just destroyed. I mean, again, I'm not for the federal ban on abortion. I'm not for any of that. I'm not, no, let the states figure it out. I'm with Trump 100%. I think that's great. Some states are going to be crazy. Some states won't, right? And if you're someone that needs an abortion, dude, this isn't 1920 friggin' 2 where, going to California might be tricky. If you're in Oklahoma or something like that, I don't know what the bad states are, or whatever, the states that will not allow much. So friggin' go to another state. Whatever. It's stupid. So whatever. This is a dumb thing. Now, again, I think it's a choice. I think if you choose to kill your fetus, that's where it really lies, whether it's legal or not legal. I mean, you're not supposed to shoot people, and people do it all the time too. So again, there's people that do stupid shit. I'm not going to try to argue that. That's just stupid, right? I can't. I'm going to lose that argument every day. So more of ABC's lies, and Axios is calling it out, of all people. Every once in a while, we get surprised with some of these people. But here's some facts, just some basic ones. They will say this is only for emergency circumstances, but it's, let's get real. After a baby is viable, 24 weeks, any emergency that comes up would be called an emergency C-section or an emergency induction, not an abortion. Because at 24 weeks, it's a baby, it's a heartbeat, it's small. You have to put it in a little incubator for God knows how long, but it's a baby now. And that's where, I'm kind of with Trump. I feel like 8 weeks is way too early, but again, whatever. This is where, we all have our kind of opinions on it, right? Some people very black and white, and I generally am never black and white. All said, that's how that generally works. From Axios, third trimester, Virginia is the only state that prohibits abortions starting in the pregnancies. The only state that prohibits abortions starting in the pregnancy's third trimester, which starts at around 25 weeks per Guthmacher. No limit. 6 states and Washington, D.C. do not oppose any term restrictions. So that's kind of interesting. So again, they're talking about if it's born and still living, what do you do? And yes, 6 states and Washington, D.C. don't have any term restrictions. You literally could be the day before you could give normal birth and get rid of it, which is messed up. Donald J. Trump just used Kamala's own line against her, which is pretty funny when she was interrupting him. It was awesome.
She was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute. I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
Don't lie.
She went out She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people.
She, by the way, and this is one of the many things that tripped me out about this whole thing, was Trump was very calm. Very calm. He was the evil tweeter in the past, right? In 2020. Very different version of Trump. I mean, I guess getting shot in the head can do that too, but Kamala was the one that was constantly trying to interrupt. And she was also the one that was supposedly fighting about keeping the microphones open. But he used her words against him. Kind of cool. Again, just a reminder, since Kamala took office, gasoline's up 51%, electricity's up 32%, airfare is up 23%, groceries 22%. Kamala, America under Kamala, let's see, prices are up 20%, and I don't know what 3.9 is, it's tiny. Rents are up 22%, eggs up 47%, car insurance up 54%, more than that in my state, by the way. Thanks, Gavin Newsom, you piece of shit. Dude, my car insurance doubled, and I don't have anything on my thing. It's because of what Newsom did. Doubled, just over. In fact, I got dropped from the company that was handling my insurance, and I literally had to find my own. And then my crap company came back with 4 times the amount, and then I saw the proposal, and I actually called the same people that they made the proposal with and called them and set my own and got it half that price. And I was like, still, it was double. Effed up. So car insurance, K through 12 food is up 66%. So the world is far from better with Kamala in office. She's been here 3.5 years. Don't act like you haven't been part of this. It was Joe. No, it was you.
To hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us, and I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President.
No, you're not. You hate all of us that love this country and the rights and stuff like that. Also, good Lord, I forgot, she said something else that pissed me off. It's all right, whatever. I'm already long in the tooth. God, Kamala was, Project 2025, that's insanity. Trump said he's not a part of that. Now, this kind of, in my mind, proves that Project 2025 is produced and created by the deep state and just trying to latch onto Trump because it was ex-Trump people. This is all intentional, folks, and that's why they keep glomming on it, because the people over at Project 2025 are like, no, we're going to try to work with Trump because we're friends of his. It's like, I want Trump to come out and say, I hate every one of those fucks. I would never trust them with nothing. Anyways, I doubt he'll do that.
In terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
This is one of the many places where I think Trump just rocked in the debate, was his ability to kind of just spin it into a direction. It was actually impressive. And then with the way that she is trying to like make facial gestures, Trump never, barely, if ever, spoke to her. He did a few times, but he never really spoke to her. He didn't necessarily speak to the camera either. I think he was speaking to the moderator. I'm not sure, maybe whoever asked the question, but he never looks at her. He doesn't really give her that. I mean, they shook hands at the first and like, here and there, but she the whole time's like looking at him, which, there's a lot of people, I didn't watch any of it, the body language experts. It implies one thing. He doesn't give a crap about her and she cares about him. She wants like daddy to like her. Talk to me. Talk to me. And he's like, I don't see you. Trump he's masterful, and he's, I think, got people helping him too, but it's one of those things where you kind of get a knack for it when you've dealt with people a lot. I'm saying this as a noob compared to this dude. This dude's a master. I'm like, I don't know, I'm a black belt. I'm pretty good, believe me. This dude's like 10th degree black belt. He's a freaking master. He's like a master. He's super good. He is, show enough. That's what he is. No, wait, he's Bruce Leroy. For any of you that actually catch that reference, that'll be good. It took me a second to remember it, but anywho. We've got more, of course.
If he were to enter the White House again, understand this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice President
to stop
Harris.
him.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat.
I love how they blame him for everything. Like, and he's gonna blow the moon up, and then he's gonna run around and kill every single woman. I mean, they just make crazy stuff up, and then he'll solder out your womb. That was too much. Yeah, I agree. Whatever.
They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to.
Again, he just, whatever he wants to say, he was going to, I think he just at some points, like, you guys all suck. So they'd say, here's the question I want you to ask. You'd spend 2 minutes not talking about it. They'd say, hey, Trump, can you answer the question? And then he'd kind of sort of answer the question, but then talk about more extra stuff. So he'd get extra minute. He was rocking them. These dudes, I don't know if they didn't realize how stupid they were being or if they were intentionally trying to help Trump. Like, it was weird because I know they tried to feed Kamala stuff, and I know they were trying to fact check Trump and cross check him when he shouldn't have been and when they were wrong. I don't know. And then there's times where it seemed like they were helping him.
But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here,
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up.
That's a huge point. Like, we're just going along with the fact that Kamala's now the person, and we just barely ever see Joe, you know? Like, and every time he's like really he's up to snuff. Like he just did a line before he walked out on stage or whatever, or walked out in front of the camera. He doesn't even go to stage anymore because he'll fall. J.D. Vance posted this: crime is down in Venezuela because they're sending criminals to the United States. Kamala Harris can't respond to that point because it's true. Yeah, and she can't. Eric Trump posted, Kamala's strategy, lots of generic talk about absolutely nothing. That was true. Richard Gurnell, the moderators were so bad that they just proved to the American people that the media lies about Trump. It backfired. It was a gift. Donald Trump truth, I thought that it was my best debate ever, especially since it was 3-on-1. And he's right. Like, I mean, you know, in some circles that'd be freaking awesome, but not what they mean. So he was against ABC, against Kamala, and I don't know, what's the network? I don't know, I don't know what who's the third one? Guys, help me out. Anyway, I don't know. He's against the deep state, cabal, all that. I mean, all fits for me. I just don't know what he's specifically meaning. Here is, here's the place where Kamala says she doesn't want to take away your guns. Again, she's so honest.
I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
Continuous lying. Well, that's funny. So I went to kamalaharris.com/issues. And in fact, the issue I opened up was this one here: make our communities safer from gun violence and crime. It's taken me too long to find this part. As president, she won't stop fighting so that Americans have the freedom to live safe from gun violence in our schools, communities, and places of worship. She'll ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, require universal background checks, and support red flag laws that keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people. She will also continue to invest in funding law enforcement, including the hiring and training of officers and people to support them. And we build upon proven gun violence prevention programs that have helped reduce violent crime. Well, certainly teaching people how to use guns is a good idea, but yeah. So I don't know why. I must have opened the wrong one or moved it. I don't know why. As president would stop fighting gun violence. Yeah, okay, whatever. There's only 3 paragraphs, and I was that special to find them. Whatever, it happens. Sometimes you just have to accept that you had a moment.
Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life, to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
She has a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's
Thank you,
what
Mr.
her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond
No,
because
Trump,
the
President
former
Trump.
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to respond to.
I'm sorry. We're going to move on, Vice President Harris.
To what he
President
has said
Trump, this is
multiple
now
times.
your
Yes.
third time running.
Now, that's how weak she is, by the way. She got walked over even by this chick. She wasn't done with her point, and that's why she had to make the point of, he said that I'm a gun owner. Well, we showed the spot. It took me forever to find it, but we showed the spot where that is not true. Again, she lies. ABC News posted this claim. As of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is an active duty in combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. This is what she's claiming, and she claimed this on the debates. Well, they actually say that's apparently she's using, to ABC trying to defend her, she's apparently using a narrow definition of what constitutes a combat zone. And they go into how we've got troops in the Middle East who have come under deadly fire. In fact, I think we had some injured. I thought we had one killed. Maybe that was the Israel one I'm confusing that with. There's also 2,500 military troops in Iraq and more than 900 U.S. military personnel in Syria who are on a mission to support local forces. So, yeah, we've got all sorts of people in harm's way, young lady. Oh, okay. Harris wants a she wants a second presidential debate. That's right. She wants a second debate. She literally already asked for a second debate. And that's where Trump is. He's done some stuff where, well, he'll say it right here, I think. Actually, let's do this first.
Her campaign is saying tonight, Washington Post is reporting that she wants a second debate. What's your answer?
She lost. She wants it because she lost.
Do you have an answer?
Well, I don't know. I have to think about it. But if you won the debate, I sort of think maybe I shouldn't do it. Why should I do another debate? She immediately said, we want another debate. That's, you know what happens when you're a prize fighter and you lose? You immediately want a new fight.
You want a rematch.
You want a rematch. The guy that won is sort of happy and thinking about it.
Would you be inclined to say yes, or you
maybe
don't know?
If it was on a fair network, I would do that. But
I think let Hannity moderate it.
Yeah, no, I think
like I did Newsom and Ron DeSantis.
I think it would be fair. You would be fair, actually.
I would be
you
fair.
want to know the truth.
I'd let you both talk. I'd let you go at each other.
I thought they would be fair. They weren't, but I felt very comfortable.
Yeah.
We have the best policy. She has no policy.
She has no policy. She doesn't. Well, the policy she has, she doesn't even say out loud. She either doesn't know them or she just thinks she can lie about shit. Not sure. Trump called into this show as well.
Kamala Harris, what do you think?
Well, I actually like Mrs. I actually like Mrs. Mahomes much better, if you want to know the truth. She's a big Trump fan. I was not a Taylor Swift fan. It was just a question of time. You couldn't possibly endorse Biden. You look at Biden, you couldn't possibly endorse him. But she's a very liberal person. She seems to always endorse a Democrat, and she'll probably pay a price for it in the marketplace. But no, I like Brittany. I think Brittany's great. Brittany got a lot of news last week. She's a big MAGA fan. That's the one I like much better than Taylor Swift.
Right.
Brittany is
Mahomes.
Yeah, they're Mahomes. They're great friends.
The wife of the great quarterback, and he is a great quarterback.
My favorite team from Kansas City.
I think she's terrific.
Mr. President, Lawrence.
I'm Brittany, bitch. Her words, not mine. But yes, interesting. So Taylor Swift came out and put her support with Kamala because someone did an AI thing saying it was her, that she supported Trump. Whatever, it's cool. These things happen in the big picture. All right, we got this. Elon Musk, while I don't think debate hosts were fair to Donald Trump and Kamala Harris exceeding most people's expectations, I actually agree with that. I thought she was going to be a lot suckier than she was. She had an earpiece, but whatever. That said, when it comes to getting things done, not just saying nice-sounding words, I strongly believe that Trump will do a far better job. After all, if Kamala can do great things, why hasn't she? Biden rarely shows up for work, so she's basically in charge already. The question comes down to this. Do you want current trends to continue for 4 more years, or do you want change? And that's 100% right. Here is some more boom action for us.
I think it's important to remember that we are voting for the leader of our country and not who we like the most or who we want in our wedding party, but who is actually going to make our country better. And we're in an incredibly unique situation where we've had both of the candidates in office before, and we've gotten to see what they would do. And when facts come to facts, my life was better when Trump was in office. The economy was higher, inflation was lower, things were better overall. And now with Kamala's administration, things haven't been so fantastic. And she's saying she can fix the problems that her administration has caused, but I just don't know if I can afford to take that risk.
Were you leaning towards the former president coming in tonight?
Probably.
And did you vote for him in 2016 or 2020?
I did.
All right. Well, she was going to anyway, probably, but she's right. I mean, that's the thing. We've seen everybody, both sides. A pundit said Harris won the debate. Undecided voters weren't so sure. This is the New York Times. There's just a couple interesting quotes in there that got shared. Quote, Trump had the more commanding presentation. There was nothing done by Harris that made me think she's better in any way. Another quote, when Trump was in office, not going to lie, I was living way better. I've never been so down in the past 4 years. It's been so hard for me. And the next person, Trump's pitch was a little more convincing than hers, Ms. Miller said. I guess I'm leaning more on his facts than her vision. Kind of powerful words against those people. If Republicans in the House and Senate don't get absolute assurances on election security, this is Trump talking, kind of ruins it a little bit. Trump truthing this, if Republicans in the House and Senate don't get absolute assurances on election and security, they should in no way, shape, or form go forward with the continuing resolution on the budget. The Democrats are trying to stuff voter registration with illegal aliens. Don't let it happen. Close it down. Definitely have to do that. We got senior Trump advisor Tim Murtaugh destroys the CBS host over the weaponization of the justice system by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. I mean, again, it's so easy to call out their nonsense.
Trump has been saying on Truth Social just yesterday or a couple days ago that he wants to prosecute people that are acting nefariously in the election, already casting doubt about this election and still refusing to accept the results of the last election. Why?
Well, I mean, first of all, the premise of that question sort of presupposes that certain people are okay with people breaking election law. And I don't really think that's the case. If people break election law, they should be prosecuted. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
They are prosecuted.
Certainly. So why is this such a controversial thing? It's something that we should all agree on.
But talking about extending it to legal, other legal teams, to donors, it suggested the idea of prosecuting political opponents.
If you're going to ask a question about someone prosecuting political opponents and don't mention that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's Department of Justice are currently, at this moment, prosecuting Donald Trump, then it's not an honest and forthright conversation. They are currently, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Department of Justice are currently engaged in a prosecution that could end up with them trying to sentence Donald Trump to jail. The way you ask that question, it's though that's not even happening, but it is happening. And I think once you arrive at the conclusion that none of these charges
Those are
would
not
have been,
directives of the Justice Department.
who is in charge of the Justice Department? Is it an executive branch agency? Who leads the executive branch? Who appoints the Attorney General? The Attorney General is not part of the Constitution as some sort of independent officer. The Attorney General is a member of the executive branch over which Joe Biden and Kamala Harris preside. That's inescapable.
And that's what happens when you get schooled because you don't actually understand government well enough. I know I don't. If I was talking to someone like him, I'd be like, oh, and I'd start asking more questions rather than assuming my position is correct. That's kind of how I roll, but doesn't mean that's always the right thing to do. So, DeKalb GOP versus Raffensperger. Apparently, Georgia's Dominion system has been left wide open. Encryption keys are unprotected, leaving any bad actor to change election results at will. Lawsuit demands transparency to ensure election results are not manipulated. So there is an actual, civil action filed. So we'll see where this gets us. Hopefully someplace positive. But then never stop fighting. Never, ever, ever stop fighting. Rep. Nancy Mace is calling on President Joe Biden and VP Kamala Harris to provide all White House communications with social media companies and between federal employees about efforts to pressure social media companies to censor online content. We'll see what information they're able to find. Top aide to embattle New York Police Department Commissioner Edward Caban, linked to Chinese Communist Party. He's actually finding that there's ties to the Communist Party. This is what the Post has apparently learned. Lin Guinan was also handpicked by Mayor Eric Adams for his high-ranking job as assistant director of the police commissioner liaison unit, despite having limited police experience. Lynn, 49, was vice chairman of one nonprofit linked to a web of CCP-controlled community groups and school associations known as United Front, and he was involved with them for 12 years, according to the records. He's also been pictured attending events alongside prominent members of the United Front groups or sponsored by them. So this weird direct tie-in to... I mean, again, we heard China had the thing on all the governors. Of course, they probably got mayors at major cities, right? Why wouldn't they? Gripping footage of the moment cops missed their biggest chance to stop Georgia school shooting suspect Colt Gray. It's been released, apparently, 5 days after the attack that left 4 dead. Officers from Jackson County Sheriff's Office visited the family home in Jefferson in May last year after they were warned by the FBI that Colt had threatened the school shooting in a message on the gaming platform Discord. So the important part here is this. This is what's fun. Because they've been telling us this was one of the encrypted systems that he was using in a foreign land. Discord. Officers from Jackson County Sheriff's Office visited the family home in Jefferson in May last year after they were warned by the FBI that Colt had threatened a school shooting in a message on the gaming platform Discord. But yet, oh my God, it's encrypted. However, did you do that, FBI? I don't know. We've talked about this a bunch, and if you don't understand my sarcasm, this is insanity. The FBI knew. Of course they knew. It's really starting to look like they're in on it, right? I mean, am I wrong? I don't know. The leader of a congressional committee investigating the assassination attempt on Donald Trump says the autopsy report of the shooter, Thomas Matthew Crook, is stomach churning. They haven't found out the chemical part yet. There's some other information that he hadn't failed to release, probably because it's legalities with that. You probably can't just release all that stuff. But the stomach churning part, I'm sure, has to do with his head and what it no longer looked like. I've showed the video. Brandon Herrera did it, shot ballistic gel with the weapon he did that towards Trump, right? The AR, shot it at close range too, did some interest, shot stuff even close to stuff, didn't hurt it, right? Just trying to prove that it had to have hit his ear. And then he shot a ballistic dummy in the head with the weapon that the SWAT people were using, or the counter snipers. And yeah, there wasn't a head left. So it was probably disgusting. I would assume horrifically disgusting. Yeah, you don't want to look at that. High-ranking leader with the United States Secret Service has been asked to retire. Michael Platty. So instead of firing him, which is cool, dude's going to get his pension, but if he's a deep state thug, or, well, maybe he made some bad choices. Whatever, I don't know. I'm not going to get into the moralities of this. Whatever the case is, they've made a scapegoat of him. This is the highest ranking person thus far, because of course the douchehole that's still in charge, Ronald Rowe, he's still there, the guy that assumed it after the other individual left. So whatever. This is just cool as hell, right? Donald Trump, MAGA. I just want to remind you guys about that, because the important thing is, if you've got a cat, and that's why this means so much to you, then I highly recommend you seriously check out my danradiostyle.petclub247.com, because it is incredible food choices for your animals. Let me see if they got reviews yet. They're still under... Oh, my Lord. That's bumming me out. But they have dog stuff, cat stuff. Let's look at cat stuff today. We're going to focus on the kitty cats today. I always focus on dogs, mainly because I'm more of a dog guy. They've got these mojos, and they've got this, well, for dogs and cats, but these have that versicolor Coriolis mushroom on this. The mushroom itself, there's all sorts of studies, over 400, that show how it actually affects health in the body. A lot of different ways. There's certainly a lot of studies that even show that it helps with cancers and things along those lines. When you look at all the chemicals and all the crap that we're exposing our animals to, it should make you be a little concerned about their health and how long they're going to last. And that's the big sad part for me. And that's why when I put my dog down, it's been tough ever since. Like, they don't live long enough. They don't live long enough. This is a way to help them live longer than they might normally already. I can't talk, but it's fine. So Mojo's is like liver wrapped with got some of these mushrooms in it. They're awesome. The cats are going to eat them. They taste delicious. In fact, I've got the gummy versions of them. It's basically the same thing. They're delicious. You don't even know or notice. Super sauce. It's a way to add this to their food, their regular food. Now, something to keep in mind, and I would highly recommend any of you guys with pets, look at the ingredients on the food you feed them. If it's all like regular stuff and you can easily pronounce it, cool. Then it's fine. If there's a bunch of weird stuff in there, you seriously don't want to use their food. I would come here. We've got dog food, cat food. We even got some mush puppies for the mush ponies for the horses. But we've got ways to get this health into their bodies and also no chemicals. In fact, they even have toys with no chemicals. They've got this little Nipster cat play thing that doesn't have chemicals. Because that's one thing you're probably getting with a lot of the toys you buy your animals, or even the little scratchy posts sometimes. Where are you getting them? Where was it manufactured? Well, if it's a place like China, it's probably got chemicals in it. Lots of chemicals. We're constantly exposed to this stuff. This is a way to help with that and also help mitigate it and stop it. Go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com. danradiostyle.petclub247.com. A lot of great stuff. Mush puppies are the ones that everybody gets like started with, but they've also got mojos for dogs, right? Just liver pieces, that's all. So again, mush puppies. We've got mush ponies. They've got them. Unfortunately, there's nothing for the cats in the mush department because I don't think cats like that kind of crap. They just eat weird stuff, right? So they like the livery stuff, and they've also got some different kinds of cat foods that you're probably going to love. So we've got this freeze-dried in the chicken stuff. And so, again, good stuff, great products, healthy, and it's just a beautiful family, too, that's kind of running this whole big business. It's pretty rad. Pet Club 247, it's right there looking out for you guys, looking out for your dogs and cats and horses, trying to keep them as healthy as possible. And, by the way, humans, too. There's a fun little human tab over there. Go to danradiostyle.petclub247.com, danradiostyle.petclub247.com. Give those pets something extra so they can stick around a little bit longer. You know what I mean? This has been posted. The DeSantis administration has demanded data from the Biden-Harris administration regarding the voter registration status of the individuals in Florida who might not be U.S. citizens, emphasizing the necessity to purge the voter rolls of those deemed ineligible to vote. He's like, give me the data now so we can get them the hell off the records. This is states actually protecting themselves from the deep state. It's a beautiful thing. It's awesome. So we got, within a few hours of the deadline to print ballots, Missouri's top court on Tuesday ruled that a proposed abortion rights amendment to the state constitution will appear on the ballot. So you guys are going to be voting on that in Missouri. We're going to find out, how does Missouri decide? You know, are they going to have their own Roe v. Wade for their state? And again, this is what Trump wanted. And I agree. I mean, this was what it should be. It should be a state-specific thing. That's actually democracy right there, kind of. I mean, it's still constitutional republic in many cases with states. I think a lot of them have constitutions, maybe all of them. I'm not 100% sure on that. I know my state does. I don't think I've ever read it. I'll be honest with you on that. That's not good. Election in Georgia's Fulton County is going to be observed by Independent Monitor. Big long article by AP America Propaganda that is not. The whole long story short, that there was this argument. The guy that was trying to push this whole thing, I don't know, Georgia's election board doesn't screw it. Who cares? The guy is in charge to make this decision. I forget. There it is. Attorney General. This dude, Chris Carr, basically said, "Look, you guys, if you're not going to agree to this, having monitors in there that are independent, then, I mean, you can do that, but I don't recommend that you do that." Ultimately, the election board decided to do it. So the 3-2 majority, the election board is going to have these independent monitors. Now, again, the problem, how do we know these guys are trustworthy? Anybody can be bought, right? So what? You get the independent monitors and you buy them. So don't think this is any sort of panacea or help or anything, Georgia. Thanks, nice try, but any independent monitors, I don't know how many of them you're going to have. Easy to buy. All you got to do, that's done. So, got anything else? How about paper ballots? Then we don't got to worry about it, right? Then we don't need so many monitors, do we? Just get some paper ballots. Problem solved. Let's stop using these stupid machines, huh? How about that? Election officials warn that widespread problems with the U.S. mail system could disrupt voting. I forgot to mention this one is one of the possibilities for how the elections will be delayed. Or, right, how they can delay the day of elections. Oh, the mail, they took that's a problem. This is going to be very interesting, especially with all the mail-in stuff. Again, easiest way, day of voting. Make it a holiday. That's totally cool. Close everybody down except for the, unfortunately, people that have to volunteer, but they're going to have time to vote, so they're right there at their poll, obviously. Emergency alert, immediate shelter-in-place order was issued. An area near ExxonMobil refinery in Beaumont, Texas. Residents are advised to close windows and turn off ventilation systems. I haven't seen anything on this. I think, I don't know. Some weird ExxonMobil problem is happening out there. That's obviously not good for the humans. Tropical storm Francine tracker. Apparently, she is strengthening to a Cat 1 hurricane. It's kind of interesting. She's moving along up the coast. So, yeah, she should be slamming into Louisiana. It's like all the models were actually in agreement, which is very strange, by the way. That never happens, ever. So, I mean, it's probably true where it's going to hit, but sure feels like it's being steered at this point. Omaha Police Department put this out. We are actively investigating a shooting that occurred at or near Omaha Northwest High School. There's reported to be one victim at this time. The school is currently in lockdown. We will continue to update as we get more details. Very, very sad. Very, very sad. And it reminds me of a Russian lady I worked with that always called it Omaha. That's how she pronounced it, and it just stuck. And I love it. I think it's cool as hell. That's why I say Arkansas, just because it's funny. D.C. Court of Appeals vacated the 1512C2 conviction of 11 J6 defendants. This was, I think, the interrupting the service or whatever, the thing. So the fact that was proven by the Supreme Court to be kind of crap because they don't really enforce it fairly. They enforce it very unfairly. So they're like, no, we're not going to agree with this at all. So they lost that. So we've had 11 of these people's sentences kicked back or ended. What do they call it? Vacated. There you go. There's the fancy word. Janet Yellen tested positive for COVID. I feel like this has happened more than once. And I know everybody out there, well, I know there's a bunch of people out there. They're going to be like, that means she was taken in. And she might be. I don't know. I say that with all these people that are testing positive for COVID right now. I think Fauci had COVID again. He was taken in too. I know. I understand what you're saying. I have zero proof of it. Maybe it's true. I just think it's more funny that these people have had COVID multiple times. Like, didn't you guys get vaccinated? Wouldn't you think that would help you in some way? And then they're like, yeah, but it helps us get over it quicker. It's like, but you seem to get it more often. Doesn't that sort of work against that quicker thing? You just spend more time with COVID than without. Right? Like, it's better just to maybe get it and have to go an extra day or two or use, one of the contagion kit, twc.health/OTF. Yeah, the contagion kit. Awesome. Use that. But whatever the case is. Interesting person to have it, that's for sure, too. And that's public as well. I don't know. A lot going on, folks. I hope, thank you for those of you that joined last night live with the actual debate. It was, I don't know, it was okay. I was expecting it to be different, better. I thought Kamala did a lot better than I was expecting. I thought she was going to totally fall flat on her face, frankly. And I think she would without help. So that the help helped. The pearl earrings looked lovely. Kamala, there you go. Kamala, don't care. And that said, we're going to continue to do this day after day, folks, shoulder to shoulder. We're going to continue to move forward. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.